Hello YouTube viewers, welcome to my channel Science to Technology. In today's show, we're going to talk about Camera Tuesday. And today's topic is how to set up your camera. I get way too many people asking how to set up the camera, but all cameras are same. So let's dive deep into it. So first you must understand the core. It does not matter whether it's a stills or it's a video. Core is the same. Basically, it's this triangle. If you understand this triangle, you have sorted the level 1. So exposure triangle has two physical variable. Variable number 1, shutter speed, basically how long the exposure is in time. So we measure it in second. Now again, second is too long, so we generally divide it. So you can have 1 second exposure, very like only suitable for low light shooting, and then you have high speed, as in like 1/100th of a second, 1,000th of a second, 2,000th of a second. So you're shrinking the time domain. So that's a physical domain, meaning once you have captured the photo, you cannot tamper with it, you cannot edit it. Like it's done. If it's a 1/100th of a second shot, it will remain that. No matter what you do in post-processing, it cannot be tampered with or altered with. It's a physical domain. You must get it right. Failure to do so, kaput. You cannot tamper with it. So what does it control? Well, it controls the motion blur. For example, if you are making a romantic movie, you do not want things to be harsh. So you do not want, like, what we call 180-degree shutter. Now, what does that mean, 180-degree shutter? Back in the old days, film used to go through a roll, and now it's going there. But again, you can't have a shutter going like this. It will break apart. So what they figured out is a synchronized motion. So they had a blade that was spinning, a disc, so to say. In that disc, you had 90-degree opening, 180-degree opening, 270-degree opening, or 360. You did not have anything. So that's how we call it angle, so to say, fundamentally. So you have to understand that shutter angle, it's only for video. Shutter speed is the actual variable. But problem is, video camera wanted a way to make it simple, so they use angle. So meaning, if you are recording a video that is 160 fps, let's just say, by default 360 simply means 1/60th of a second, meaning the whole time camera is exposing. But if you want to reduce it, you'll be like, hey, 180-degree, that means half. Then you're like 90-degree, quarter. So that's why degree is simply, whenever you are talking about degree, you're just dividing it. 360-degree means full exposure, half, quarter, that's up to you. So that is motion blur control. That's why you want to, like, for example, if you are trying to capture a F1 car and it's going at full speed, yeah, you can't do 1/100th of a second. It's gonna blur. So you do need 1,000th of a second. So that is there. Motion blur is controlled by it. Then exposure time must be less than the FPS, meaning, again, I have no idea how Sony engineering could be this dumb, but it's like, if I have set 60 FPS set, it should not allow me to drop frames exposure time more than 1/60th of a second. But it does allow me, like I can drop it to 1/30th of a second. Like, what happens after that? Yeah, the camera actually records 30 FPS video, copy paste the frame and sends it out. It's mean. So it does happen. You have to be mindful of that. Another aspect in video is that you have flicker, meaning worldwide our grid is AC. And unless you are buying a video light, you have to deal with that. So you'll see that flickering lines. And again, once it's in the video file, good luck trying to remove it. So how do you fix it? Sync the shutter speed with that. For example, in India, it's 50 Hertz. In USA, 60 Hertz. Meaning in India, if I want to make a video like this, I will have my shutter set to 1/50th of a second. So it will sync. But if I wanted to record 60 fps, I will set the shutter to 1/100th of a second. It must be multiple of 50, only then I'll get crisp images. Slow side you can go, that's not an issue. Flicker only shows up at high shutter speeds, not slowest one. So if I'm like, okay, what if I'm only doing a time lapse, it will not show up. So fundamentally, that's what you are controlling. Basically, if you are making the shutter speed small, you get sharp images but dim images because not enough photons flow through it. And then the other side, the longer the exposure, the bright the image will be. Heck, you can shoot at night, it will look like day if you expose it for 15 seconds, but it will be blurry. So it's up to you. You have these two edges and you are controlling it. How sharp and how bright you want it to be. And again, there are certain rules. If you are doing video, please make sure you are syncing with the grid frequency. Failure to do so will be frustrating. Or record at like slow FPS, like 24 FPS, it does not matter. But again, make sure the shutter is 1/24th of a second. Now that's one physical domain. Once you tampered with it, you cannot undo it in post. So get that sorted. Second, aperture. It's a lens variable. Again, it's a physical variable. You cannot change it. Once you capture something like, let's say, f4, you can't go in post and make it f2.8. It will not work. So it's a physical domain, cannot be changed after the capture. So depth of field, basically think in this way. If it's a shallow depth of field, it will be like this. If it's a narrow depth of field, it will be like this. So what does that mean for you and I? It simply means one thing. If I'm a focus, like right now my camera is focusing on this eye or this eye. Yeah, it's focusing on this eye. This eye is in focus. How blurry this is. Like if you watched older of my videos, when I just got this camera, I set it up f2.8. So problem was this was getting out of focus. My eye was in focus, this was out of focus. So in this scenario, I have reduced it now to 4.5. So this and this, they are both relatively in sharpness. So that's up to you. It's the physical hole in your lens, and be mindful it's fractional, so it's inverted, meaning f2 means huge, f22 means tiny. Do not ask me why it's fractional, but it is. And one core aspect, you just figure out how fat the pipe is. That's how you can figure out how long the pipe is versus how fat the pipe is. So f2 will allow a lot of light, but it will mess up your depth of field, meaning your focus have to be absolutely precise and your composition should support it. For example, can I do f2.8 in here? Of course, but my composition does not support it. If I want my TV to, I have to be like this, f2.8, I can't do anything like this. So for that reason, you have to understand that. Less meaning the number is less, let's say f1.4, f2, less number means bright, GG, but shallow depth of field. May be desirable, may not be desirable. But you're like, what if I make the number larger? It will become dim because again, you're shrinking the pipe, but it will become sharp. One critical warning, do not go below a certain number. Let's just say f14, even f14 is too much. But because if you make the hole too small, diffraction, law of physics starts to interfere and you'll get blurry image. It's nothing to do with lens, or my lens is crappy or this lens is crappy. No, if you make aperture very small, it cannot work. Like law of physics is like, nope, just nope. Unless the lens is designed for that aperture, it will not work. So if you're buying normal lens, do not ever expose it to that low level. You will be shocked how ugly the photos will be. And again, it's a diffraction law. Unless you engineer everything around it so it can work at that sort of shallow aperture, narrow aperture, nothing else will work. Again, you cannot tamper with this in post-production. So get the aperture right, get the shutter speed right, everything else is an adjustable variable. Why? ISO. Back in the old days, meaning when we used to have film camera, you're supposed to open the film up, put the roll. Roll was the ISO, meaning if you are like, hey, daytime picnic photograph, buy a 800 ISO roll. And if it's like, hey, it's a home party and all that, buy 1600. If you're like sports photographer, buy 3200 ISO. And then you just like put it, shoot everything, then open it up. Then that's how you change the ISO. Nowadays, what is ISO? Your sensor, after it has captured these two physical phenomena, it created an electrical signal. That's the actual data. That electrical signal goes through an amplification stage or gain stage. That's the ISO. You can set it high or low. It does not matter. And raw file, whenever you are hearing the raw, what does that mean? That simply means it's giving you the data while you can adjust the gain. JPEG generally takes the final baked data. There is no data behind it. You got the mathematical output, not the source where you applied the math. So that can be tampered, meaning in modern times, if you captured a photo and let's say it was underexposed, it was like ISO 400 and you're like, oh god damn it, I'm lost the footage. No, just go it in and increase the exposure. It will match exactly how it will look if you had shot at 400. You can do the experiment yourself, by the way. Especially underexpose it, expose it to like 3 or 4 stop, you're like, wait a minute, it looks exactly like this. Yeah, it will. The only time it will not look exactly the same if you have dual ISO circuit. For example, this sort of old cameras, they only had one ISO circuit. Modern one like this have 2 circuits. There is one low light and one high light. Low light and daytime. So 800 ISO, that's the baseline for daytime perfect rendition. That's a physical circuit. There is a second circuit that is fine-tuned for low light. It will overexpose like hell if you did it in daytime. That's why there are 2 physical circuits optimized for 2 different scenarios. You have to be in the right zone. Raw file can allow you to tamper between those, but can't jump the circuit. Basically, let's say 100 ISO to 3000 ISO, go YOLO on post-production. But after 3200, yeah, it will be completely different. So make sure you have to select the right hardware. Like, I don't know why the heck they don't have a simple settings like high gain, low gain. Just have that. Raw file gives you enough that source data that you can tamper with it in post-production. So, and what is this so-called exposure? Exposure simply means there is a mathematical bucket. So one side of the bucket is 0, another side is full. You do not want your bucket to touch any of these sides, meaning the light should be in between, not touching on the any end, especially the highlight, because in digital photography there is this bad phenomenon. You can tweak and tamper, but you cannot do anything if the value reaches 0, as in 100%. If it reaches 100%, you pull it down, it can't pull down because the pixel value was absolute. There is no ratio around it. So this, like let's just say this part got overexposed, it will be a white hole. Even though if you reduced exposure of everything, it will remain like a white hole. That's why overexposure in digital photography, no. If you have to make a choice, always underexpose, do not overexpose. You overexpose, the end. The end. So this is the core aspect, and that's how your camera figures out whether the exposure is right or wrong. So basically histogram or camera have it. There is a likelihood of you having a modern camera that does not have histogram is almost 0. So do learn that. Like that will give you a good understanding how your digital file is behaving. And if it clips, it will reach 0, the end, throw away the file. There is nothing you can do. So if you have to make a choice, be conservative. And if it's a very high dynamic range where it's like one side would be compromised, either the low light or high light, make sure that it's low light that is compromised. Because once low light is compromised, you pull it up, there is still pixel noise. So it does not create a bland spot, it creates a noisy spot. It looks okay-ish. Film had noise. So be mindful of that. And whenever you master this concept, there will be a concept that will frustrate you. Exposure compensation. I cannot tell you how many years it took me to understand that it is actually nothing. It's just controlling these 3 variables for you. So if you buy any sort of DSLR or mirrorless, you will find there are a lot of settings. Like you have manual, that simply means everything is your control. Exposure triangle is your control. And then you will have aperture priority, meaning you are telling the computer, I got this. Tamper with those 2. That's what exposure compensation, meaning you took a photo. Let's say you set up, you are in aperture priority, you set the aperture, you are happy with the file, but let's just say cloud happened. Your exposure changed. Your computer will say, hey, you're underexposed. You send the exposure compensation, aperture represents the same because you have not allowed it computer to change it. It will either change the ISO or change the shutter. And again, shutter speed, priority, let's say you are doing a sports photography. You have to be in high shutter. You cannot tamper with it. You can tamper with aperture. You can tamper with ISO. You cannot tamper with the shutter speed. So you'll be shutter priority. That's why those things are there. So exposure compensation is just a rapid add-on tool where you are locking one variable. It's like, oh, I want my all the images to be at, let's say, 800 ISO. Okay, lock that. Let computer to figure everything else out. So that's the core fundamental. Do not worry about exposure compensation. It's just an add-on once you have mastered these 3 things. And aperture and shutter speed, once tampered with it, you cannot refix it. So be mindful. Get shutter speed and aperture right. Everything else is far more forgiving, so to say. And please learn what histogram is. All cameras have it. And once you can see it, you'll be like, I got this. You will start to feel like, I got this. I understand this. Now we come to the most black magic technology in modern cameras, autofocus. It is miracle how fast autofocus have become. Like, god damn it, like even this camera, and again, that's a very latest one, this one. Sometimes it's creepy, like it can just look at something. If I have the red dot in the viewfinder and I press half shutter, it's like, I got you, man. The lens will move, it's like, I got you. I got you, man. Don't worry about it, I got you. So it is very good. And core functionality is the same. Basically, like how exposure triangle is the same, autofocus functionality is same, all brands. So first point you must understand is manual sight selection. Autofocus is great at focusing, not great at selecting what to focus on. Meaning you have a scene. Let's say you're taking a photo of me. In this scenario, computer does not know whether it should focus on her face, or this real face. So in that sort of scenario, you take control. You say manual sight selection. Please focus on this spot, the end. The end. You remove all ambiguity. This allows you to control, meaning let's say you have a flower bed and you want to focus, this flower is my personal favorite and I'm adjusting the composition for it. Autofocus algorithm might get it, might not, but if you do manual, it's like, this will happen exactly as I want. All cameras will have it. Let that be, again, from DSLR to mirrorless, it will always be there. Manual sight selection, point where you want it to be. Then we have single autofocus. Single autofocus is that almost all cameras have 2 modes of shutter press, which is half press and full. Half press does the autofocus. Why is this way? Well, are you happy about it or not? Basically, half press it, it focuses, you're happy, click it. If you're not happy, do it. And again, it's a more of a layover from the past, but again, it is useful even in modern times, because if you half press and you are happy with it, you can apply a timer. Basically, if you're doing something that is very motion sensitive, for example, macro photography, you may want to do that autofocus. I'm happy with it, click it, but it will not take the photo. It will wait for 1 to 2 seconds for things to stabilize and then take the photo on electronic shutter. So there is no physical vibration. People do that. Like, again, if you want like absolutely precise control, you can do that. Although nowadays, most of the time, people don't suffer it because it has an issue where it's like, let's just say I did this, half press, cool, awesome, but here's I'm breathing. So now the camera is out of focus. Again, back in the old days, people were not pixel peeping. It was not an issue. Now everybody is going to zoom the hell out of it, like 400% zoom, 10,000% zoom, and then gonna complain about it. So yeah, that's why I said like a single autofocus point was like, not recommended nowadays. So although for Instagram, it's more than good enough. It's like, bro, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it, it's more than good enough. Continuous autofocus is basically even after you have pressed it and it has locked onto focus, it will try to maintain the focus, meaning if you're it will keep focusing. So that's right now the default function for almost all cameras. Just put it in continuous, 99% of the time it's like, I got you, fam. So that is there. Then we have one step above it, which is what we call tracking. It's like what to focus on. What if you're like, focus on this? Tracking allows you to like focus on this, and you can keep moving it around, and it's like, I got this. This part is not that great in even with AI modern systems. Again, I do have a good one, but it's like 90% of the time it will lock onto it, but 10% it won't. So it's not trustworthy. It's good, better than nothing, especially in sports scenario. Shut up, take money, because there is no alternative, but it's not there yet where it's like, I got this. Even though they are saying low, focus on the face and all that, is like, I've seen it miss enough where it's like, I get it. And again, human cannot do that much, so I get it, but it's like, intent is missing. Basically, that's the frustrating part. That's why movies still to this day are always manual focus pull, because it allows you to control the intent. I want focus to be here. I want it to be out of focus. I want it to be focused. So tracking autofocus allows you to lock things on one thing. Great for like crowd. Let's say your kid is in sports racing and like there are 5 to 6 kids running, and even let's just say your kid is going backwards. You do not want that. You want that kid to be in focus, not the first place. You want that. So in those sort of scenarios, camera is like, I got you, fam. I'm tracking that guy, I got this. So that is there. Area autofocus. And again, different brand may have different name, but it will always be there. The idea is you are setting up your composition, but you know the composition would be in left third, center, right third, bottom section, top section. That area selection allows you to remove all the hassle. Whereas like autofocus, ignore this much of the frame, focus here, the end. So what point in that, it becomes easier. And again, you have to understand that modern cameras have too many points. Like in DSLR, it was manageable, and it was becoming stupid when DSLR was like reaching its final form. It was like had 100 point, 200 point, but now this sort of cameras have like 700, 900, or almost 1000 points. Is like, yeesh. So in the area select becomes far more desirable. It's like, hey, I'm setting up everything, so please focus here. So that is there. AI will make the final judgment. You have to tell AI where to focus on. That's why your cameras have like things like IAF, bird autofocus, because let's just say there are two things in the frame. How would AI know that what you want? Like Canon is trying this trick where it's like your eye describes what it is, but again, I don't see it working, because again, like you have to hunt for the bird. So how will your eye look at anything? So that's again, under construction, good technology. I have a feeling it will take few more years to cook and be ready, but that's the idea. Like you are focusing on that biker, it will always maintain focus on that. That's a good feedback loop, because again, focusing part is sorted. What to focus on, that is still not sorted. That is inside your brain. That's the key. And let that be very clear. You have to read the manual. Every brand is different, and unless you are willing to go through like 2-3 hours of a camera setting guide, you will have a very hard time. And not to mention, what if your camera is new? My camera, I got this camera so early on that Gerald, almost nobody had a full breakdown of how the settings go. But again, I had to learn to use the camera. So read the goddamn manual. And again, these are the fundamental principles. It will always remain the same. And without practice, there is no cheat code around it. Like, left eye or right eye. But what if you are doing portraiture? How would you know which eye you want to focus on? That's why. Practice, experience, grow. Now we are talking about look and feel. Now this part you have to understand. I've seen the dumbest take generally I've seen in this domain. Meaning people think cameras are scientific instrument. They are not. Cameras from the manufacturers. Again, you can, let's say Sony makes sensors for industrial sectors. They make sensor for Alpha also. But here's the deal. Alpha, when they take the sensor data, they apply spice to it. You take an industrial one, they do not apply spice. So fundamentally, you can take industrial camera from any manufacturer, the photo will always look the same. You can take photo of same object from different brand, it will all look different. Why? Again, camera's job, it is to make the subject look good, meaning it should be pleasant, it should be pleasing. They work their ass off to make sure that it is pleasing to most amount of people. And if you ever say, oh, let's just say Sony colors are garbage, it's like, no, it's not. If that was scientifically true, nobody would have bought it. But more than enough people find it awesome. And here's the deal, that's why TV shows, Star Wars, Top Gun, Sony color science. And again, some people like Nikon color science. They say there's just a bit of golden, bit of warmness. Awesome. Let that be, a color is art. Your eyes are different. Your eyes, the decoding algorithm, one person to another person is different. Some might be a little bit colorblind, they might not even know it. So do not ever fight for color science. Color science are art, not science. Do not fight for it. And if you're doing for enjoyment, you like it, the end. Like you're like, hey, I like Panasonic, the end. There is nothing after that. It's like, I like the output coming from this camera, the end. The end. There is no point. And you're like, my customers enjoy Nikon, the end. They are paying you, the end. Do not fight on this. Like, this is the one thing you cannot fight on. You can fight on other specs. Like, I can genuinely say Sony's is garbage in terms of a memory card, because again, I had to buy like this sort of kidney selling card. That is garbage. That's a good conversation we can have. But if you're saying color science, it's like, bro, that's on you. You have to tweak it. So let that be very clear. If you are making money, which again, more than enough people are doing it. So if the top 3 brand, you can't really complain, or even you can't complain about Fuji. They are known for their color science. So fundamentally, if you're making money or you are enjoying it, do not fight over it. The end. If somebody says, I think this camera color is garbage, what they are saying is they do not like it. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong. But you have to say, it's not my cup of tea. So another aspect, picture profile. They always have to be made for your taste. That's why there are so many picture formats, so many picture profiles. That's the reason. There is no one perfect one. Do not. I've seen people tell me which picture profile you're using. That's the wrong question. Like, you have to set up your setting according to you. For example, let's just say I have this setup, right? And I gave you my camera setting and you do it and it turns out it's not perfectly matching. Why? My lights are different than yours. I bought this light, let's just say 8-9 years ago, and it's not very high CRI. But let's just say you have high CRI, right? Now you will find, hey, why the heck the camera setting has a tint to it? It was not matching. So that's why. Do not ever have like, this is the best. It's like, I find this in this scenario makes awesome sense for me. That's it. That's why it's art, not science. It has to look good to you. And again, there is too many variables also. For example, what is your monitor? Is your monitor like actually color calibrated monitor? If no, now you're going through another hassle, so to say. And again, that's why when movies are shot, they have color calibrated monitors that are $5,000. Because again, they cannot risk it where it's like, all person should see it. So if 10 video editors are there, they all 10 colorists are there, all of them have to look at the exact same file. How do they do that? Make sure all of them have the exact same monitor, exact same calibration. So picture profile is for your setting, so to say. Oh, white balance also have this one thing. White balance, you see color temperature, that's one vector. It has 2 vectors. So you have color temperature and then you have blue magenta shift and basically green to magenta shift, and you have blue to amber shift. You can shift it, especially if you have an ugly color light like this. You can shift it till you are happy. And again, let that be very clear, till you are happy or your customer. And again, if you do not know all cameras have this, I am judging you badly. My ancient DSLR has that. So all cameras have it. And again, that's why you go into ancient Canon cameras, they still have that setting, fineness, threshold, contrast, saturation, color, tone. Why? It's the whole point. It has to look good to you. And if you spend time into this, you could have a scenario where it's like, if you're taking a shots, you will have raw files, but you will be happy with JPEG out of JPEG. And you will only touch up raw if you're like, hey, this file got too underexposed, too overexposed, then you will tamper with it. So that's the whole point. Look and feel is up to you. Your eye is different than others. Your feel is different than others. Do not fight over it. Enjoy it. And again, you should want a world where people have different taste. Otherwise, it will be, what's the point? Now we come to the more scientific part, which is format. Again, scientific. This part is scientific. So nowadays we have 3 formats. Like back in the days, we used to have only 2 formats. Now we have 3. So one is JPEG, super easy format, very comfortable. It is supported by a governmental site also. Now we have latest format, which is HEIF file, HEIF, high efficiency image format, which is dot format would be HEIC. And that's a brand new one. But again, I have not seen a single government site accepting it. And again, it's a brand new system. So support of that is very weak, so to say. So if you're like, hey, I want a file that I just distribute to whoever and it should work, use in JPEG. But if you're like, hey, it's for me, I'm having fun, you can shoot in HEIF, and HEIF has the advantage that it's has enough bit depth that while it's not as flexible as RAW, but it's not also locked down as JPEG. So for most people, especially if you're getting exposure good enough, you can do editing in HEIF also and be like fine, like you'll be fine. So HEIF is there, and be mindful, but HEIF is brand new. So if you are doing data data archiving, I would not recommend that format. Like JPEG, I would recommend that. Now we come to RAW. Yeah, RAW has zero support. Companies don't support RAW. That's how bad it is. As in, like, my brother has Sony A7C Mark II. That RAW file is different from A7 Mark V RAW file. Why? I have no idea. Companies are stupid. Other than that, there is no reason for that. So each camera is unique, and you have to make sure your software supports it. Like I thought Canon modern Sony software supports RAW file transport from camera to mobile phone. GG. I thought I'm gonna edit it. Snapseed cannot open this file. It can open my brother's file. It can't open this file. The support has not been added yet. So that's a frustration. You have to deal with that. So RAW file, it's your hassle to deal with. Do not ever tell to someone, oh, I have RAW. It's like, it does not matter. They can't play it. Never back up RAW for archiving. Like, back it up for like editing and all that, but don't archive it. It's worthless. Although that's why I said, like, it's stupid why that is, because RAW video files does not have that issue. Think in that way. How the heck RAW files do not have that issue when it's in video mode, which is more data, more complexity, but it's an issue in image format? WTF? So what we have RAW in video, it's brand specific. For example, all Red camera will have Red RAW. All Nikon camera will have N RAW. All Blackmagic will have Blackmagic RAW. B RAW as they call it, and Canon will say C RAW. And you're like, okay, why the heck Sony is not there? Sony is waiting for patent to expire. Somehow, I have no idea, Red Cinema successfully patented compressed RAW recording. And if you try to do uncompressed RAW recording, it's few terabytes per minute. So you can't do that. You have to compress it. So Canon paid the Red company, Nikon bought the Red company, Blackmagic cheated. They are saying, like, hey, we are not actually recording a RAW file. That's why, like, the wiggle room is much more tight compared to a true RAW format. So they are successfully evaded the what you call patent lawyers. And in 2 years, like 2028, the patent will expire. And I can guarantee you by 2029, every camera company will start introducing RAW. Body RAW. You can right now legally have an external capture box that can capture RAW. Red does not have blockade on that. That's allowed. But in camera body, like this camera body records RAW, that's not allowed. That's why Atomos Ninja V, those became popular, because camera figured out a cheat code. It's like, hey, have HDMI output that is RAW and then capture it in external recorder. That's the cheapest way to get RAW files for a lot of time. Now, again, Nikon just bought it. Canon just paid it. Blackmagic cheated it. So that's there. But again, only 2 more years left. So that is there. And again, be mindful. Once you have software that figures out NRAW, you do not have to worry about which Nikon camera you have. It will always work. Blackmagic always works. C-RAW always works. That's why I said, like, companies are stupid, or they are willingly tampering with the file. So again, that's the whole point of file formats. It's supposed to have container where you have metadata about the file, so a file can be played. But companies are like, what if we had magical BS every model? Now that's RAW files. Most likely you are not dealing with RAW files. Most time you are dealing with standard video file. There you have way too many options. Back in my days, there was no option. Back in my days, you never had a DSLR that said 444 recording, 422 recording, or 420 recording. It was just like 420 the end. And they did not even say like 420. Panasonic did. But almost nobody else did. Now, what does this mean? Simply means you have to understand video file when you are selling it to someone, let's say in YouTube or Instagram or Netflix. It's a delivery format. It will be compressed as hell. But when you're capturing it, you do not have the final picture. So capture in higher resolution. And here 444 means 100% color resolution, 422 means 50% color resolution, 420 means 25% color resolution. So for example, if you are just doing vlogs and all that, 420 is fine. If you are doing green screening, try to go 444. If your camera does not support it, go 422. But be mindful, file size will become brutal. Again, that weird compression was designed so you can have black and white data and color data. And black and white data is being separate, you do not lose spatial resolution. Sharpness remains the same, but the color fidelity goes down. So if you're doing green screening, try to be 444. And you're like, okay, why there is a brand that says 4444? That's alpha channel. Don't worry about it. So this is 444, 422, 420. For source file, try to make sure that you are capturing as high as possible. Then you have bit depth. Be mindful. YouTube is not transmitting 10-bit file to your system. So they're only gonna transmit to 8, but do not capture in 8. Capture in 10, edit it in, and then finally broadcast in 10. Codecs. This used to be an issue back in the days because H.264 was the default and H.265 became the new format. Now, at this point, 2026, almost every hardware can support it, so don't worry about it. I'm waiting for any camera company to add AV1 codecs, but let's see. So that is there. Now, so far, all these things, basically the bit depth and the color depth does not matter that much as frames do. In the film era, every frame was a goddamn frame. It was a full frame. We could not do that. We could do that till we had tapes recording it. But once we got into flash memory, it was too big. The file became too stupid. So we created what we call GOP files, as in group of pictures. We threw away frames, meaning if you're recording 24 frames per second, there's actually 4 or 5 frames, that's it. You threw away the frames and like, okay, then how the heck video is playing? Yeah, they took the frame in a RAM, crunched it, created what we call predictive frames. It just tells frame number A, original frame number B, that is on the other side of me. This is the translation on it. Basically, if you change this pixel this way, it will look close enough to that. Yeah, that's the ugliest part of video recording. If you ever see like, motion weird artifacts, and again, if source is good, it does not matter. But if you recorded here, then did the editing, it will look ugly AF. And you're like, it feels ugly. Yeah, group of pictures. You do not want group of picture for your source file. And again, it's hard for editing also because whenever your playhead gets into a certain point, computer has to render the front files and back files, as in frames. It's brutal. All-I, awesome. Every frame is there. That's the best output. Like again, if I have to choose between, let's say 10-bit or All-I, I will always choose All-I. Again, in this scenario, it's not that important, but if you're doing any sort of action, even camera is moving a little bit, do All-I. You'd be shocked how big of a difference it makes. But be mindful. All-I is expensive. In terms of memory, it's expensive. Hundreds of megabyte file from this full HD camera. It's brutal. It's so brutal that it literally fried my cards. Like I was going through SD cards every 2 years, I think. Again, I do record 2 videos per day, so yeah, that is there. So let that be very clear. All-I is awesome. And again, I would always recommend you to use All-I for your source file, but be mindful, it has cost. Like when I went to Expo and I was capturing it, I was not using All-I because could not afford it. I don't have a laptop. I did not have a place where I can do an editing and all that. So I had to risk go. But again, it's not end of the world, but if you can use All-I, especially if you're doing green screening, because again, if motion frames are literally calculation frames, God help you. So fundamentally, memory is the penalty. So these are the core settings that you have to know and understand. Each camera brand might call it different, but more or less, they are all the same. Understand the core fundamentals, you're fine, you're good, you're gonna be fine. So this was a presentation on basically how do you set up your camera. Those things are the variable. Hopefully you have liked it, learned from it. In that case, please click the like button, share it amongst your friends. That will help me a lot. If you didn't like it, didn't enjoy it, I urge you to press dislike, press it twice to show me disappointment. Please leave a comment because I do try to reply to all of them. Subscribe, press the bell icon if you're free. And as always, thanks for watching.